Okay, there being 6:30, I'm going to start the zoning board of appeals meeting off with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. First hearing is a continued hearing of application of Timothy Gillespie, applicant and Judy Craft, owner, for a special permit to convert a portion of an existing garage into a detached accessory apartment containing 375 square feet pursuant to zoning bylaw Article 9, Section 9.5.4. Property is located at 10 Hillside Road, Westport, Mass, and is shown on Assessor's Map 88 lots 169 and 70. So this is a continuation, but the way we run all the hearings is we'll have the applicant come up, provide what information is pertinent. The board will then ask questions, and then after the board is done asking questions, I'll open it up to the public. So, yes. And voting on this will be Jerry Catino, Barbara Ponalillo, myself, Roger Menard, Constance Gee, Ray Elias, and Cynthia Kosekowicz.
I'm not voting.
No, right? Isn't that right?
No?
You've got
There's only five.
people. 1, 2, 3,
I'm
4,
just-
5. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the next one.
All right.
Yes. And it requires a super majority vote of 4 out of the 5. So, you're
Hi,
right.
good evening.
Your name and address.
Well, my name is Levin Gillespie. I'm Tim Gillespie's son. I'm currently the contractor on the project. We've converted the company over, so my information is now on the permit. And so, first of all, hi, everybody. I want to say thank you. This has been an ongoing situation that I have had to request multiple continuances for, and I appreciate the patience and understanding in that. It's been a little bit of a difficult situation to get through the Board of Health because there was an unknown septic issue when we started the project, and that became clear once it went through to you guys. So, we actually do have a path forward now. Because of the rain and everything, we weren't able to perk it until last week, so I do not have everything together to actually present to you this evening. So I am requesting one more continuance. I spoke to Lenny Potter today, and we're probably about 6 weeks out to have everything approved through the Board of Health and Conservation. So I'm hoping that you will indulge me one last time in continuing this, and we can put it forward however long it seems reasonable, so that we don't have to go through this particular process again. So I have the form and the check, and I'm hoping that it would.
Well, the other option is you can withdraw without prejudice, and what that allows you to do is you can then reapply at any time.
Okay.
If you either to withdraw or we were to vote on it, then there's a 2-year moratorium that you cannot reapply with. But again, and I'm just saying, it's an option that we can either work on a continuance. This is like 4th?
This is 4th, correct.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and every time that we've done this, it's always been, we think we're going to be ready next month.
Right.
And matter of fact, I remember even the first one, when you said, that, you weren't quite ready. You said, it doesn't have to be next month. You can schedule it 6 months from now.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't want to do that, so now it's like the 4th time.
Understood.
We don't have anything that says he can't continue.
Yeah.
We're just saying,
I'm just saying that there's an option.
Yeah, the downside of that option would be that you'd have to pay for a whole new application, which is a $500 instead of $100
Yeah.
continuance. And if you're reasonably certain that it's going to move forward, then I think you would just go with a continuance. If you have some idea of when you would like that continuance to be.
Yeah, so I am fairly confident now. We had thought there wasn't a difficult path forward before, and then it got more complicated. Now we've gone through that, and there actually does seem that there's an avenue for this.
But you haven't finished the perk yet.
No, the perk is finished,
Oh, the perk
and
is
it was
finished.
favorable. So
Okay.
that's, so
So you
now.
know what the ground table is?
Correct, yeah, so we know that it should be,
Manageable.
it should be manageable,
Okay.
correct. And we, this new plan, we had a discussion with the Board of Health last month, and that's what prompted Lenny to say, okay, we can move forward to the perk test now, because we didn't want to disrupt the soil when we weren't sure that this is actually a way we could go. So we were confident enough to do that perk. The perk was done, and it was good. So, I'm feeling confident that we have an avenue here.
Right. Now, this is a new septic for both the
Correct.
accessory and the house?
Correct. So we didn't know that the septic was undersized when we embarked on this, because this was an existing property that we had the same use before. We just couldn't, we had gutted it because it had a mold issue, so, at a previous renovation. So when we went to redo it, we couldn't prove that there had been a kitchenette. So that's why, this was almost, it was almost like, we thought it was sort of a routine procedure, and then it got flagged that turns out the septic was undersized the whole time, So it was one of those things that information kept coming our way that made it a little more complicated. So I'm not interested in, in using up people's time unduly. But I do feel if you were open to it, I really think this could be the final continuance. And I'd be willing to put it out, 2 months to be sure.
Right. I think in the first meeting, we actually went through all of the A through J requirements for an accessory apartment, and the only thing that was left was the approval of the septic system by the health department. So I believe we've gone through all the other steps.
Yep,
We're just waiting for approval from the health department of a, not that the actual septic system, but the septic system design.
septic plan, correct,
Right.
yes. And that's what's being actively worked on now. And the fact that we have a perk that has gone well, and now they're working on a septic plan to submit. So that's why I spoke with Lenny today, because I wanted to be sure how long he thought this would take, so that I wasn't going to.
And then I would add on to that, because.
Just be safe.
There's always contingencies,
Correct.
there's weather,
Correct.
there's always things that come up that make things longer than you expect them to be.
Certainly. So, as far as, I'm concerned, I'm willing to put this out to the end of the summer. If that's a favorable situation. I wasn't exactly sure how often you guys meet, so I didn't put a date on here that I was proposing. I figured I would ask you, and see what made sense. But I think I would like it if we could do this continuance, if you were open to it. And I feel good about the prospects going forward here. And again, I didn't expect to have this be such an ongoing issue, and I apologize that it has been.
Now, for board members, have all the board members been involved in all of the,
Deliberate.
Yes, I have been.
you have been?
Yeah.
You have been.
Yep.
Joe, you have been. You're gonna be
Gone.
gone, so what I have to make sure is that we have 5 members that have been through, even if it's just a continuation, we still have to
Certainly.
have the member present for that. Or they have to watch the video for 2 minutes saying,
Right.
we're continuing. So, but it's a whole lot easier if all of the members, if at least 5 members have been present for all of the hearings, so that if we were to approve a continuation, then we would potentially have 5 members that could sit on it.
Understood.
So what you can do then is you can read off your request, and then we will discuss whether or not we want to accept the request.
Okay, and read off this
Yep.
form? Okay. I, Levin Gillespie, request that the hearing on my petition be continued until.
We'll pick a date.
You
Okay.
have to pick a date.
I understand that the deadline for making a decision will be extended accordingly. I also understand that given that this is The fourth, request to continue this matter as the petitioners were not ready to go forward, that a $100 fee will be assessed to be paid to Town of Westport pursuant to the Zoning Board of Appeals schedule of petition fees.
Okay, we have a request from the petitioner for a continuation and discussion. If anybody have any?
I have no
Issues?
problem with it, because this has not been primarily at their fault. This is unknown things happening with the septic and water.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same. I mean, we've had this issue before with multiple continuances, but in this case, at least the petitioner has been here for every one of the
Yes.
continuances and not just been absent and hope for the best.
Yeah.
I don't have any particular issue with another continuance. We'd have to pick a date, and you would just suggest at least 2 months?
Yeah, that should be fine. I mean, I'd be
So-
willing to go a little further if that's more comfortable
July
for
or
everybody.
August? We don't have anything scheduled in July and August yet.
Just July 10th.
We have July
That's a little
10th.
short, that's only 6 weeks, right?
But we ought to
Yeah,
go
I
beyond
think
that.
6 weeks is probably like, that's
Could be, but
maybe
that's
what it's
not-
gonna take, so I'd be
I'd
more
go with
comfortable going
August.
further. I'd rather be waiting
Yes,
than be up
because
against
the
it.
next time, you may.
I'm not interested in
You may come to
doing
us
it
and
again.
say, no, you know.
I
it's
completely
late to strike
understand.
her out,
I
you know.
completely
And you
understand.
don't want to pay another $500, so.
No,
Although if you started off and paid the $500, you'd pretty much only be there. So,
yeah.
August sometime?
Yeah. 14th, 21st.
What's everybody's availability for the,
14's good with me.
The 14th would be good for me.
is it or is
The
it?
14th is okay, the 21st is iffy.
You're pretty confident of that? You'll be ready for that?
I'm pretty confident.
Not go into September?
I don't think so. So where are we? We're not even in June yet, right? So
We're pretty close, though.
assuming 6 weeks would be, okay,
The middle of July.
the middle of July. Right,
now
middle
we're
of July. Yeah,
Right, so then
we
we're
should be-
middle of
we should
August,
be
we're
okay.
4 weeks more.
That gives us about a month buffer,
Okay, so
right?
14th.
Another month buffer.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
14th, okay with you, Constance?
fine.
Okay, I will make a motion then to grant the continuance of the application of Timothy Gillespie for an accessory apartment until August 14th at 6:30. Understanding that this continuance also pushes back the deadline for the decision, which is what you requested.
I second that.
Any discussion before we have a motion and a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh,
Opposed, no.
oh,
So it's, that's approved. So we will see you in August.
14th, okay.
Good luck.
And hopefully we'll finally get this squared away.
Yeah, me too. You and me both. Should I write this date on?
Yes, put that on there and sign it and make sure it's dated and she'll stamp it.
Wow, he's still.
I'll email you and your dad about a month before. And if you know anything, if you have anything,
Yeah.
approved, please let me know.
I will.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
luck,
everybody.
buddy.
How do your dad?
Have a good weekend.
Good luck.
I mean, have a good evening. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I actually have that on my page.
Okay. Okay, the second petition of the evening, 6 Wildberry Way, Administrative Appeal of Reposa Properties LLC from a letter issued by the Building Commissioner zoning enforcement officer that states that turning property in the condominium is not allowed under condition zoning bylaw 953 and 954. Subject property is located at 6 Wildberry Way, Westport, Mass. And shown on Assessors Map 35, Lot 21L. Once again, the same process. I'll have the petitioner come up and provide whatever information he thinks is pertinent. The board will then ask questions, and after the board completes their questions, I'll open it up to the public. Again, voting on this will be Jerry Patino, Barbara Pontilillo, myself, Roger Menard, Constance Key, and Ray Elias. And this also requires a vote of 4 to grant the petition. Now, before we start, I want to get the, well, where are we going here? Okay, I'm going to read a letter from Ralph Souza, who's the zoning enforcement officer, which prompted this. This is from Ralph Souza. I am in receipt of advertisement for the listing of the detached accessory apartment at 6 Wildberry Way for sale as a condominium. As per the special permit issued to grant the construction of the structure in question, you indicated that would be your son in 6B and yourself in 6 Wildberry Way. Further, turning the property into condominium is not allowed, condition of Westport zoning bylaw, Article 9.3. This must be approved by the Westport Zoning Board of Appeals. That is, I believe, what prompted this,
Yes.
This appeal.
Now, my name is Mark Fournier, the attorney for Jay Raposa. He then gave me this letter. He was also in agreement to sell the Unit 2. I was hired by him about a year ago to convert this to a condominium, because he had planned to live in one, and that first building was already almost completed, the other one was just starting. So I said I could see no problem with that. I've done a lot of conversions. The property now is completely finished, all the permits are done. It's got two units, one with 3 bedrooms, one with 2 bedrooms, septic.
Excuse me?
Unit 1 has 3 bedrooms, and Unit 2, it's a detached. It's a
Detached can only have 1 bedroom. That's all we approved. We only approved 1 bedroom, and that is the bylaw.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. So, you'd have to reduce it down to 1 bedroom.
And that was something that, that he should have, I believe at that point he had to do a deed restriction.
I have not seen the deed restriction, but
Have you
in the letter from Ralph Raposa, it said it was in violation of 953, which relates to attached apartments.
I think he
954 is one I assumed he was referring to.
Yes.
And 954, my belief was that, in interpreting his letter, was that the 954 paragraph G is the part he had an issue with. Any property that has been granted a special permit for detached accessory shall not be further divided unless all zoning requirements can be met. Regardless, under Chapter 183A in Massachusetts, which is the legislation for condominiums, whether it's a 2-family converted to a condex or a 300-unit on 3 acres converted to from apartments to condex, it does not divide the land. It's just the ownership interest. It'd be similar to you adding your wife, and then, let's say if you had 6 children to the deed, it doesn't divide the land, just the ownership interest. I was not aware that there was a restriction against only...
Did you read the decision that allowed him in the first place to have an accessory apartment?
I have it here, and it says a 5-bedroom septic system has been approved with the board. The main house is currently being constructed, so on and so forth. This is the decision, I believe.
It has in parentheses that one that you just read has in, sorry, Mr. Chair. May I
Yes.
just help him out?
This is Attorney Blake, he's our attorney for...
Okay.
It says in the decision that section you just read, in parentheses, 4 bedrooms in the main house and 1 bedroom in the accessory apartment.
And I'll also point out that 9.4 and 9.5 both say restricted to 1 bedroom. So I don't know if you've actually read the bylaw itself.
I'm looking at paragraph 4 of that decision.
Okay, I'm looking at the 954 at the moment.
Oh, you're looking at 9.5?
Yes,
I'm talking.
maximum of 1 bedroom. All right, let me, I wish I had my other paperwork here.
Big-
I did not bring the plot plan and the other information, unfortunately.
Well, I'll read part of the decision. Vice Chair Catino said that he viewed the site and was shown the property lines. He also stated that the notes provided by the board, by the clerk, indicate the health agent confirmed the approval of 5-bedroom septic, 4 bedrooms in the main house and 1 bedroom in the accessory apartment.
All right.
Our bylaw only allows 1 bedroom and a maximum of 2 people in the accessory
Maximum of 2
apartment.
people. I can't verify mentally whether he has 4 or 1 or 3 and 2, but I thought the latter. But the the permits have been signed off, the septic approved by the Board of Health, everything's done, so I'm assuming it was according to that, but I can't verify it. I don't have that other paperwork, it's in my office. With that being said, there's a possibility I could be there in a few minutes and back if I could be continued till later this evening and you can proceed to the other party.
Well,
If that's a-
let's discuss, before we do that, the overriding thing of the legality of converting what we already approved as an accessory apartment into a condominium, which is a whole different effort, and isn't really, well, and I don't want to, I know Attorney Blake has sent us an email with his review of our bylaws, so Attorney Blake, would you care to summarize your findings on this issue of condominiumizing?
Happy to, Mr. Chairman. In my opinion, you, under the special permit that was issued for a detached accessory apartment, condominiumizing the detached building, as you correctly point out, would number one, change the ownership. And under the bylaw, the owners should own both. And it would also convert the accessory dwelling unit, detached accessory apartment, into a primary use, because it's no longer accessory to anything, because it's now its own standalone. The town, its bylaw at Article 7.1 states that in all districts, no more than 1 dwelling unit shall be built on any lot. That, of course, is carved out by this detached accessory apartment special permit. But once you turn that into a condo, as you've correctly pointed out, you're changing the ownership. And number one, it no longer qualifies as having to have the owner actually live in one of the units, because now there's not 2 units, they're 2 separate units. And it no longer becomes an accessory dwelling unit, it then becomes a primary dwelling unit. It's 2 houses on 1 lot. And I don't think that's allowed by in my opinion, it's not allowed by their bylaw. I'm happy to share with you my rationale, if you would like. After, you can send me an email, I'm happy to send it over to you if you want to take a look at it, but I don't think you can do what you want to do.
I'm just reading the deed restriction, first time I see it.
Really?
I've never seen this deed restriction, it
Then-
wasn't attached to the deed. So it's a separate,
No, it's recorded with the deed, my friend.
Recorded in the registry.
It's recorded.
it's recorded at the registry,
Yeah,
but I
so-
did not receive.
And I'm not voting on this, but you're wasting our time, because you weren't prepared.
Not much more I can say at this point. Without the plan that was recorded at the registry in my presence, I can't confirm whether it's a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom, but it sounds like you're,
It's listed on
bedroom.
MLS as 2 bedrooms, which is against the rules
That's-
to begin with.
It says right here it's 2 bedrooms.
And we've already granted a special permit for an accessory apartment,
For
which
1
can't be
bedroom.
subdivided in our bylaw. That's part of our bylaw.
That's more important at the moment than one bedroom or two bedroom.
Well, but dividing the lot would not be divided, it's just change of interest of ownership, it's not changing the lot. You're not getting half acre lot and an acre lot, it's still an acre and a half or whatever the amount is on this lot. But you're not changing the lot, you're just changing the interest.
But now you're making it into two separate
Primary.
housing units, rather than a primary and an accessory,
And,
which is a whole different.
Well, I think
and we don't have a
I'm assuming
two-family,
that Westport, when you allowed an accessory apartment, it was probably for an in-law apartment or maybe a rental income, but either way, you're going to have a separate family dwelling in that building.
But they're not owners.
Yes,
as long as the owner of the property is living in the other property.
right. It's a whole different,
Yeah,
condominium
yeah.
is entirely different than a primary residence with an accessory. They're entirely different.
Well, in a condominium, though, you still have owners living in them.
Yes,
if you
but in
have
a condominium, generally you would have an owner who owns the property, and then the people who own the inside of the house. That's what a condominium is. So, but that's not what our bylaws say. So, our bylaw says you can have an accessory apartment, but the owner of everything has to live in either the accessory or it doesn't have to live in the primary, but has to live in one of the structures, and has to own all of the property and all the structures. That's not what a condominium is.
Under this proposal that you have right now, who is the owner of all the common property?
Currently, J. Raposa owns everything, and if he sold Unit 2, 38 point something percentage would be common area, and the unit owner of 1 owns the difference. And the common area, the condo owner only owns to the ceiling, to the walls, the floor, the interior,
The inside.
and everything else is common area, the yard, the exterior of the building, the plumbing chases.
And that is
everything.
intended to be owned by whom? That's what I'm asking you.
Pardon?
All of that common that you just
The
spoke about.
common area is owned by
Who
whoever
will
owns the
be-
condos. They are all owning of the common area by percentage of ownership.
Under a homeowner association?
Yes,
Of 2 people?
Yeah.
The condo association would be 2 people?
would be, yes, each condo would have a 1 trustee to represent them. So you don't have, 1 person living in one and 3 in another and have trustees overpowering. So it works on 1 trustee needs to both have to act together, and it's based on square footage of the units. So Unit 2 is smaller and they have only 38% ownership. The other unit owns the remainder of the common areas, but they all have 1 master insurance, they have 1 well, they have common fees, and they all pay $250 a month for insurance and covering all the bases, and they go up and down each year depending on expenses.
But still, what you're talking about is we have 2 separate structures, which and that isn't really allowed by our bylaws, according to our attorney. Other than what we allow for as an accessory in apartment.
However, you have right now currently several properties for sale as condos in Westport, so how is it not allowed here and elsewhere?
I can only speak to what we have here.
You're saying there's an identical situation that's
Yes.
being allowed?
There are currently 6 other properties.
There's lots of
We
condominiums.
do have legal condominiums in Westport.
Right, but they
Yes,
were,
we
they were
do.
built as
But they weren't
condominiums,
built
not
under
coming to the
accessory.
back door of an
Right.
accessory apartment.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they weren't accessory units.
They were
To be
built as
permanent.
condominiums.
Right.
With the planning board's approval, right? A condominium complex would be
We
planning
don't
board.
approve that.
Well, in some
But
cases,
a planning board would
with
have to
our
go through the
approval.
planning board,
There are
right?
2
And
in
then you
Gifford
zone it.
Road, 1 in
the
Drift Road
motel
right
was
now.
our approval.
Yeah. But like you have the winding lane, right? But that's was approved as a condo. not as a single-family dwelling with an accessory apartment. If your client wanted a condominium, he should have come to us with that request in the first instance, not in the second instance where we approved the accessory dwelling.
You indicated, I thought that a year ago, you said that one of the intended units a year ago was planned as a condominium?
No,
'Cause that never came
well,
up in this.
he had been approved by, he had these approvals and everything from this board, and he had the first building framed, it was roughed out, you know, it was up to that point, he was just starting the foundation on the second one when he hired me. It was still kind of early in the, like, midwinter. And he continued construction, I did the paperwork, and we had an engineer do the plot plans and everything else, and we just went forward as is.
Right, but when you or I'm not sure if it was you who came before us before.
No, this is my first time here.
Yeah.
He had planned to build this unit so he could live in it, retire in it, and then, you know, he's looking forward to his future.
Yeah, but then what we were told was that he was gonna sell the main unit, the 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom unit, and his son was gonna live in the accessory dwelling, because we said that somebody who owned the property had to live on the property.
Right.
And he said his son is living there, and we said, but it's owned by an LLC. We actually changed our bylaws
Yes.
Right.
because of
Because of that.
this case in itself. And he had to go back to his attorneys and have his son become part of the LLC in order for us to approve it. So if his intention was always to do a condominium, that is what he should have presented to us a year and a half ago.
No, I don't know. I can't speak for his prior intention or
Well,
attorneys.
I'm going to review for you your options. Obviously, one of the options is we can continue with this and vote on it. If you don't think that you have all the information or lacking information or need to research further, you can ask for continuance just like the previous petition. Or you can ask for to withdraw without prejudice, so that then you could then reapply once you actually have all your ducks in order. So those are the three options. I'm not telling you which one you should do. I'm just advising you that you have three options.
And the cease and desist order will be maintained, and the property is under contract right now, just so the board knows.
So,
Now, he
If the
also
board-
indicated that you could withdraw without prejudice. That would be a request. We would not have to approve it.
Right.
So
Well,
it'd be
all
very
of them
clear.
would be-
So the other option would be you withdraw it with prejudice, which means you can't come back for 2 years.
Right, that's correct.
and if the board disapproves of this condominium, he has to, if he wants to, keep the whole property or sell the whole property. But that's the only option.
He's going to have to then sell it as a primary residence with an accessory apartment, which is what we approved. And he's going to have to sell it as a primary accessory with an accessory apartment with only 1 bedroom, because that's all that we approved and that's all that's in the bylaw. And you can't have more than 2 people. It's meant for, like you said, in-laws, if you have somebody that needs assistance, or also allowing for a rental property so that you can stay on the property. That was the intent of the bylaw, to keep people from having to move out of Westport just because they cannot afford to, or their family member cannot afford to remain in the, on the premises.
And those intents are written right in the
And those
bylaw.
intents are written right in the bylaw.
The hardship intents. All right, so if I withdraw with prejudice, it's one option. Or you vote and cut off the goose's head. The third option was,
Without prejudice, right?
You can request
Right.
to withdraw without prejudice.
And
Okay.
that allows you then to reapply tomorrow
Okay.
if you want.
And we'd have to vote on whether to approve that.
okay.
If it's granted.
All right, let's do that latter then if we can.
What's,
Continue.
I'll request to withdraw without prejudice if I can. And you vote on that, whether to accept it, am I correct?
We vote on that, and then if we don't do that, we can continue with something else.
Okay,
So you are requesting to withdraw without prejudice.
yes,
And the cease and desist continues.
I understand.
Any discussion?
Can you explain exactly what that will mean in terms of, I mean, it seems like the whole basis for this petition is illegal. So withdrawing without prejudice, what does that then bring, how can it be brought back in a way that?
Well, what then, I would assume then, our lawyer here can then, he can go back to obviously the petitioner and decide if they want to look at, if there's other avenues, of, what they can do with the property, or spend more time with the bylaws so that they actually understand what they did right, what they did wrong, and if there's some way they can do what they want and still fit within the bylaw. It gives them time then to decide how they want to proceed without having to worry about a 2-year delay or an outright rejection.
Yeah, okay.
It just gives them time to
Yeah,
to rethink it.
I understand that, but I just don't understand what they could possibly come back with.
No,
But
that's
up
not
to
our.
them.
yeah.
Right.
There's obviously some information that you did not have tonight, so I would support you leaving without prejudice and doing the research. And maybe you don't have an option, but maybe you will find one. But you should have all your information. I would support that myself.
And I'm sure that Attorney Blake can provide you with a written detail of why he believes that condominiumizing is not allowed in the bylaw, so that you can then, verify that and see how you want to move forward. And maybe you don't, maybe you just back away from it. I mean, that's up to the petitioner.
He still has a accessory apartment with 1 bedroom.
No, maybe 2. They're saying it's 2 and it's
They're
listed
saying
as
it's
2.
two, that's another thing that maybe the zoning enforcement officer
And
should look at.
And there should not be an occupancy permit.
And again, the
So that
owner
Ralph
has
was
to
here.
live in it, so, there's a lot of issues that I think you and the petitioner need to resolve.
But yet they're saying that this was approved by the Board of Health?
They only look at the
The
septic, and
septic.
if the septic is fine, that's their
That's it.
job.
Yeah, but that's it.
Yeah,
Right, that's their
Okay.
job.
it's 5, it's 5 bedrooms and they
And if they have 5
then
septic,
decided to split it differently from what we had told them to do.
right.
Now, I believe that he could choose to just sell the whole thing as a unit to somebody else who would use it legally as an accessory apartment.
Right.
That's why we require the deed restriction, so
Yeah.
people who are buying the property knows
Know
what
that
the use of,
there is a restriction.
the use of the other building is
Correct.
what it's supposed to be.
Okay, did you want to make a motion to?
I will make a motion to,
Excuse me, could I just ask
Yes.
one question first before we do that? We have a number of people in the audience that have no idea if they're here
Oh.
related to this or
Yeah,
not. So I thought it might be in everyone's
she's
best
very
interest,
animated. I think she's,
Even if they're withdrawn?
Oh.
just to get some idea of
The
what
grandfather.
their concerns are, so that he could,
I'll leave it up to the attorney. Again, I don't know how many of these people are here for this particular petition, but it may be useful for you and a petitioner to understand
right, what the
what
concerns
the,
are.
if there's any pushback from neighbors or how they feel about it, so that, if you want to go forward, you know what you're up against. So you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to open it up to the floor then. Val's going to bring over a microphone. If you come up to, and again, you can, whatever you want to say about this proposed change, just your name and address. So
first, or you want me to sit?
You go first.
Yeah, I will.
go ahead.
Ladies.
Don't fight about it,
somebody
just
come up
come
to
to
the
the
microphone.
Oh, I
microphone.
have to go to the mic?
Yes.
Okay.
Ma-
I'm just curious as to.
Name and
what-
address first.
4 Wildberry Way,
Name.
Cynthia Belenkoff.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just curious as what it's first generated for is the owner living there, which is not happening. And then they're allowed this apartment. I own 58 acres behind it. So if he's allowed to do this, I wanna see like condominiums, like how many condominiums I can put on my 58 acres.
Well, you
And
can work with the planning board on that.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like, how is this able to happen along with the wetlands that's being exposed to all of this time? We actually developed the property originally, the road wasn't there. We were like with Jay Raposa, one of the first ones there. We actually built the road. And like we've watched this develop, which has been fine, but now it's like, it just seems like the wetlands is being exposed. There was supposed to be, what's it called, behind your development? The water table, it's gone, like, what? It did. So I'm just wondering what is going on here and how all of this is happening with, like, if he comes back and is able to do this, then we all can do it.
Well, first I'll answer a couple of your questions. First, was it a couple of, when we approved the accessory apartment, he met all the criteria for the accessory apartment, which means that they had to have an approved septic system from the Board of Health.
With him living there.
And
He's never lived there.
well, that was part of the decision, and that was agreed upon by the petitioner. Now, we are not the enforcement agent. The zoning enforcement officer is the one who enforces this. So if you have an issue, it's the zoning enforcement officer that you need to contact. But the petitioner met all the requirements for an accessory apartment when they came before us on a previous petition. We don't look at, well, we actually do look at property lines, but we have A through J requirements for allowing somebody to have an accessory apartment, and they met all of those, and they signed a deed restriction saying that somebody would live there, an owner would live there, and it would only be one bedroom.
But it's not
But
an owner that
and
lives
again,
there.
that's enforcement, and that's,
Okay,
like I said, it's.
okay,
And that's what, I mean, that's
the
why
only
we're
thing
here.
that's been approved to date.
Yeah.
okay, but it's not happening.
Right, that's why the building inspector issued the cease and desist,
Right.
because he was not complying with, or the laws of the town.
All right, is it- anyone else want to get up and?
I'm going to introduce myself really quickly. I'm Amanda Duart from 16 Wildberry Way. Me and my husband, we went through all the procedures to try to build our home 3 years ago. We wanted to bring our children to a beautiful little neighborhood. It now, to me, it breaks my heart a little bit because obviously the land, the 2 premises that he has built has brought all of our house values down, A. We still have a 30-year mortgage on ours, you know, and I look at it and it kind of slowly becomes a little bit, we wanted like country setting, and now I know we're on the main, you know, right off the main road, but it's just making everything very commercial now, you know, and just the thought of a condominium, it seems just so not, we moved out of a city to come to a country, the country lands, and it just changes the whole atmosphere. You know, I put my kids on the bus, I look at these 2 tiny little homes that if he had just built one bigger home, he could have sold it, made good profit. And again, I'm just looking at bigger is not always better, and more and more and more, and it's just thirst. That's all I have to say, is I just feel like there's no need for this.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Victor Abate, 10 Wildberry Way. I'm very familiar with the bylaws because when this happened, I read, and I do remember the letter we got last year saying that there was going to be, you know, the adjoining unit had to be owner occupied, which I thought meant the owner had to stay in the bigger house and rent out the smaller, but you're saying they can go
They
back
could
and
either
forth.
way.
It's fine, but I do know that the house was already rented out before they got the building inspection to approve the vacancy for the smaller unit. There's people renting the house because they got in a car wreck, and I asked, who was it? And they said, the new guys who were in house one. I was like, I didn't know people were in house one. Now, I should, it's a small street, I'm home a lot, there's only like 9 houses on it, but I keep to myself. But I did read those bylaws, and it's very specific of why your board would approve the unit. It was for old people, sorry, no, I'm old. You know, to stay in, to be able to stay where they are and to provide more income. That's a great thing. But I do believe, like my neighbor said, you know, it really doesn't go for the rest of the neighborhood, but that's fine. You own the land, that's fine. But rules are rules. I was in the service for 20 years, so rules are very important to me. We got this note a year ago. It progressed forward, and now it seems like less than a week after the second dwelling was approved for occupancy, it was for sale. So, whatever you guys decide, like she said,
But that's the reason why there's a cease and desist order.
you guys are doing your job. Thank you.
The zoning
Thank you.
enforcement officers.
That's good. They're doing a good job, and because, you know, I'm all for a guy to make a buck, but when you come forward, you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do. And they asked to do something, and it just seems too convenient that it didn't go in that direction awful quick. So I'll let you guys do your thing. Glad you had us here, and I'm out. That's good.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we've heard from public.
Now for your motion.
I would make a motion for you to withdraw without prejudice so that you can research the whole project and get that information that you did not have coming in to the meeting tonight.
I don't really think we need to include all that. We just
Okay.
grant,
Stop
or
it.
you make a motion to grant the petition, the petitioners.
Withdraw without prejudice.
And what are the consequences if that's not?
Excuse me?
And what are the consequences if that is not?
Then we'll move on to something else. So we have a motion.
See, that's one of the concerns of withdrawing without prejudice is that, and we have some right now, that we've allowed that and they just sit there and nothing ever happens. So in this
But
case, I
whether-
think
whether-
something has to happen
Yeah,
because
right now
this
they're in a
is
cease and desist
clear
order.
violation.
So yeah, it's a clear violation. And whether we approve the petition to withdraw or not, it's going to be the same situation.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to address
It's not really
In
helping or hurting.
Yeah. Well, in my mind, I think if someone's coming who files a petition to come across with us, should come here prepared. And this gentleman was not prepared. And
No, it doesn't seem like he was given the correct information and didn't. But
I mean, when this first came up, the first thing I did was to make sure that the town registered the deed restriction and it's there. And if I was somebody representing somebody, that would be the first thing I would do, is to check to see if there's a deed restriction, which there should have been. And I would believe this gentleman should have done that and should have seen that. I'm not I'm not voting here. I'm just saying that I think that coming unprepared is unprofessional.
It also just doesn't seem like there's any good faith all around.
No.
I will second the motion. Any more discussion before we?
Are both units rented now?
No, one is rented and one is under contract.
I thought they were both empty, so I don't know.
Does the son live at any
Yes,
of them?
one unit's under contract, I don't believe the other one is occupied, but I could be.
I believe
be.
our neighbors said they were.
The first
Right?
unit is rented.
Yeah. So it's, Yeah, Unit A is rented and Unit B is under contract.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Opposed.
Jerry? Okay, that fails, so we are not going to accept your request to withdraw
No, not without prejudice.
without prejudice.
You could still ask to withdraw.
Right.
Yes.
Or continue.
Or we could go forward tonight
Mhm.
and act on it,
Yes, okay.
approve it, deny
Or
it.
he can continue.
Yeah.
He can request a continuance if you
Right,
vote on it.
continuation. My reason, by the way, is because it's pretty clear cut. And so unless something new jumps into the fray here,
Or
to
just
me, it's
wasting
not,
everybody's time.
not worth it much.
Right. I agree, Jerry.
I will withdraw
You're going to withdraw.
with prejudice.
Okay. Then I will make a motion to grant the approval of withdrawing with prejudice. In other words, you can't now come back for 2 years.
2 years.
For the same thing.
But let me ask, again, the consequences of that, where it's still sort of in motion, and that it could be brought back in 2 years, where does that leave everybody?
That leaves
Still-
everybody
Still
with,
under a cease and desist.
Right.
He still has to comply,
Comply with the cease and
revert
desist.
that building into a one-bedroom. And the other one, if it's rented, well, he's supposed to be living there, so he's got some
No, he
issues.
could be living in the, he could be living in the one bedroom. That's what we were told. We were told that he was gonna rent the large house and his son was gonna live in the accessory dwelling unit. And then his son wasn't a member of the LLC,
Right.
which he then went and we
Right.
let him,
Right,
we
that he
gave
was a
him, we
family
gave him a day to
business,
come
okay.
correct that with Maria. And he did, and so he can live, he or his son or anybody in the family who owns, anybody who is a
25%.
member of,
They have to be a 25%
25%
member of the LLC.
LLC is able to live there.
So what's the difference in the outcome if we say approve or deny this request and then
Well,
just vote to completely deny the whole?
Even if we were to go and
Deny the whole,
and delay the whole thing, he can come back in 2 years anyway.
right. So,
Oh,
So it's-
what I see
so
is,
what's
Oh, our
what I
zoning
see
laws
is
make
he
sure
has
that
the
Wait,
option,
comment.
yeah,
he has the option of selling the entire thing to somebody.
and that's what that leaves him open to do?
Yeah.
But he has to comply with your rule of only one bedroom in that unit, so he has some work to do.
Yeah.
But that's not how I understand it's constructed.
I'm sorry?
What's
This is
that?
an
This is an
appeal.
appeal, yes.
So essentially, by withdrawing with prejudice, he's essentially dismissed his appeal.
He just dismisses the appeal.
And so, yeah, I mean, could he come back in 2 years? He can't come back and appeal the order that he's under. He could certainly provide some other petition to the board, I don't know what it would be.
Right.
Modify the special permit,
Mhm.
although, I mean.
He could come
there's
back
no
and ask for a
avenue to-
variance,
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
which would be probably his only other avenue.
Yeah, but he could, yeah, because he's essentially dismissing his appeal, so
Right.
Ralph's order.
But without coming back at all, he could sell the whole unit as one parcel, and someone else would go on and abide by the rules.
and if he's not abiding by the rules, the building inspector is
Then,
Zoning
yes, an
enforcement
enforcement officer will issue another cease and desist.
Okay, now we've had that. I made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
We have a second discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That's unanimous. So your appeal is, has been, your request to withdraw with prejudice has been granted.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay. Okay. The third, you can, if you, unless you want to learn about Pine Hill Road.
About what?
Wow, yeah. We have another petition. Okay, that kind of clears the room out.
Thank you. We're kind of lonely here.
We lined them up for
And now
you.
you can move up, you can get like front row instead of the cheap seats.
They can't leave, I got the keys.
All right, the third petition is application of James Collin and Janae Johnson.
Well,
Is that how?
yeah.
Oh, good.
Today's my wife.
For a special permit to convert a portion of an existing structure into an attached accessory apartment containing 866 square feet pursuant to zoning bylaw article 9, section 954. Property is located at 795B Pine Hill Road, Westport, Mass. And shown on Assessors Map 38, Lot 13A. Once again, voting on this will be Jerry Catino, Barbara Ponalillo, myself, Roger Menard, Konstanski, and Ray Elias, and this requires a vote of 4 to grant. So same ground rules will allow you to provide what information you think is pertinent. We'll ask questions. There's nobody left in the audience. If there were, they could ask questions. So the floor is yours.
Well, some of this may be redundant to the packet we gave you, but I'll go through it and
Yeah.
maybe that's easier. So we bought the piece of property in August of 2021. September? I'll defer to my wife's an accountant, I'm an architect. So
She's the historian.
she probably is the historian as well. So in the fall of 2001, it was granted as part of a flexible frontage approval. So it's one of those pork chop kind of lots, of which we have a 50-foot zone that comes in. As part of the whole approval of this thing, we had to go through the Conservation Commission and Planning. And so we presented to both of those commissions and got approval for essentially, the site has 2 buildable pieces on it. There's a setback from the Westport River, there's a setback associated with another stream, there's also a setback associated with a pond. And so when you're all done,
So you mostly wetland.
yeah,
generally.
and we had to swing a road around out of the way, but what we ended up doing was having kind of 2 buildable pieces of land, about 1,000 feet away from each other.
But still one lot.
Still one lot, and we are not allowed to subdivide the lot or ever do anything ever again to it, right?
Correct.
That's part of the allowance through the
Flexible
the
frontage.
flexible. So we have an open field, the rest of it is heavily wooded. We had the right to cut some of the land at the western edge for the house. The intention here was to build an art studio and a workshop as one building. That would be the building on what would be the eastern end of the property, and about 1,000 feet away to build a modest house, not more than 3 bedrooms. The original idea was to build this all at once. And then we started to get into the actual development of the road and the underground electrical, and COVID hit, and
You ran out
we
of
built
money.
the bond, and yeah,
We are, yeah.
well, we're having,
But we're hoping.
well, we have a funding strategy, it's slightly different. The original idea was I work in Boston, we have a house outside of Boston. When I retire was to basically move down here full-time, and then we'd build the house, we'd build the studio, and that would all be finished, and then we'd basically downsize, move everything out of the house, and sell the house. So it all was very simple. Until the money situation has gotten into a situation where it's really difficult to now fund the house without actually selling the other house to get the funding for the house. And if we started to build a house right now, I want it to be really low impact. We have an architectural firm that is all kind of net zero, low carbon. So this house takes a little while to design, and it actually takes a little while to build, longer than might be normal. We're trying to have it basically net zero. And so it's going to take probably, with the design and the actual construction of it, at least 2, probably 3 years.
Oh.
It's gonna take a while.
The barn's taken almost 2 years.
Well, that's because I'm the architect.
Yes,
She
that's-
should have gotten a better architect. But in any case, so the barn is, so the idea was, okay, if we could get an allowance for the detached apartment, and we met all that criteria, which I go through, then we'd have the opportunity to live in the apartment while we're getting the house built, and it kind of is the interim thing that makes that all work. And then, quite frankly, if we could get that approval, there's something to be said as we get older and everything else like that, to have the flexibility of, for all the other reasons that other people have talked about, to have this adjacent.
Like a caregiver, or maybe our daughter needs a place to live.
So what happens is if we go through everything, it's 11 acres of land. We're hundreds of feet away from any of the abutters. We have, and I think you've got plans, but I have bigger ones here if you want it. But it just so happens, because it was designed originally as a, well, I don't know if you want to see this, but the piece of property goes quite a bit out that way, and the house lot would be way out here. So, but all of our abutters on this side were 160 feet away, this way 175 feet there, 130 feet there, so the setbacks are pretty significant. We have a situation where if I were going to go to, I'll give you what the base drawings are now. And what happens is the lower floor of the building has these 3 big bays associated with, the idea in retirement is, my wife's a woodworker, I like to maybe putter around on things, was to be able to literally, if we wanted to renovate a sailboat, to be able to bring it into these bays, to be able to do that. So this is a big shop, and the upper level was kind of an open design studio with a staircase up and a restroom that was already there. So we already have a well, we already have approval for the septic system. It's already been put in and approved and from that basis. The problem is if we wanted to go in and say we want an accessory use, what we have to do to it is, I think I got one more in there, is basically put a kitchen in that doesn't, do I have one more, Jim?
I got it.
Well, it's there. Well, what basically it does is it says, take the office, make it the bedroom. You already got the restroom. Take this part of the open studio and simply build a kitchen there, and then that's it. And then we have basically a living, dining room, kitchen, and the 1 bedroom.
But now, did you said this is already built?
This part of it, for all intents and purposes, we're almost done.
Yeah.
Right? We built the entire outside. We've built most of the inside. And what we would have to do, if you were kind enough to grant approval, was we'd have to go back in here and basically fit out a kitchen. Now, the plumbing stack is already right there anyway, and the design studio had a sink there, so all the plumbing is there. It's an entirely, we want to be off, there's no gas or
And this
anything.
is all new construction?
All new construction.
Okay, I have a very basic question.
Sure.
Why can't you just go to the building department and apply for a building permit?
We have a
for
building
this?
permit for this.
Right,
Alright.
but
Go ahead.
as a workshop,
You do.
Yes.
Yeah.
without a kitchen. And what I'm saying is, there is no other house, there is no other dwelling on this property.
But it's going
So
to be.
can you explain, well, there's going to be,
Yeah, so
but there
here's-
isn't now.
No, there isn't now. So this was a bit of the dilemma here a little bit, because we have every right to have this as a house,
That's correct,
but we only can have one house.
right.
Yes.
What we would then have to do is, when I design the house and pull the permit for the house, nobody should give me the permit because I already have a house on the plot. Then I'd have to come back and say, well, I want to make this house that I already have disappear,
Correct.
and now ask
No,
you
not
for...
disappear,
No, but then I would
As
have
the
to ask
accessory
you
to the house
as
you're
the
building.
accessory
Yeah.
to the other house that exists.
correct.
So I talked to Ralph about this, because that was a way to do it. And you got originally he said that maybe that's what we should do. And then he had it for, I don't know, almost 2 months. and then came back and said, no, we should do it this way.
Why?
And so I don't know exactly why, other than maybe he just, because I was concerned whether you can grant an accessory to something that doesn't yet exist.
That's a problem.
And then I heard somewhere that this has been done before in the town, so we're perfectly happy to figure this out however we want to. What we are trying to do, you can see what we're trying to do. We've got 11 acres of land, we've got a building there, all I need to do is put a kitchen in, and we can live in it for 3 years while we're building the house.
Like if we built the house first, which maybe we should have done, there would be no issue, because then we could come to you and say, we'd like to make.
Well, then when we built the other thing, if we
We could
wanted
just-
to make an accessory
We
use,
could have come to you and it
we
would
would
make
have done it
sense,
that
but
way.
because we built it in the reverse.
You hired the wrong architect.
Well, you hired the wrong guy. Well, yes,
Well, no,
but
part of it
they.
also is that Jim's gonna do some of the stuff, because he's
Yeah.
very handy.
Well,
And so the
it's happy
idea
to
was he
make
could
the
have
shop
his
first
shop in that, and we
to
could.
facilitate the building of the second building.
Sure.
Yeah.
Plus, the other thing is, this is halfway out, and so to be able to start to finish all the landscape and everything else on your way to the farther part of the site made more sense than, in other words, finish the out part and then drive by a construction site the other
Yeah.
way. And if we got into the electrical, it made more sense to get the electrical energized as you went out, and a whole bunch of other things. So whether we did it in the right sequence or not, this is this is why we're here, is to basically say, can we put a kitchen in there? Because I think that's the difference. I don't even think, actually, to get down to it, it's can we put an oven in it? An oven and a range, and can somebody sleep in it? Because that's literally, the idea that it's an artist's workshop, there's nothing that says we can have a refrigerator and a microwave and a dishwasher. And
Yeah.
we've already got approval for all the septic has already been approved. There's already this parking is there. So if I go down the list of all the things that I'm supposed to have, I've got those in spades, other than I don't have the house that it's accessory to.
But it's there, it's gonna be there.
But,
Well, you say that, but who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe it isn't.
right.
You run out of money and you never build it.
So then what we would
You
have
get a
to do is
divorce.
then say, what? Then
You
this
haven't-
becomes the house,
You have an accessory to nothing,
to nothing.
and
So-
that's what we.
But how could we ever build the house?
You made the
Like
other
if
one
we,
an accessory?
if we,
Well, he's
if we
right.
made it be like the
Yeah.
house, the barn be the house
Yeah,
now,
yep.
how could we build the house?
We just did one
can.
Well, we
This
a
have
month
to come
ago.
back to
We
you.
couldn't do it.
We
because-
just,
No,
yes, you
well,
could.
let-
We just did one a month ago on Sanford Road.
Yes.
There's a house, they've been living there in that house for years. The house did not qualify, as far as we were concerned, as an accessory, simply because of size and potential of adding
More than one
to it.
bedroom.
So we worked on it, and they have no other house, but they want to build the house down by the water.
This is almost
Okay.
exactly the same situation.
Right.
Except they had plans for it.
And we just did.
We have
Well,
plans
I do
for,
have
The
plans.
house.
See any plans for it.
Yeah, no, we'd have to, well,
No, because they're here
Well, we
for
do
a
have
different
plans.
thing.
yeah, but
Yes, I know.
we're not ready to put the plans in for a
Oh.
building permit and
Right.
stuff
Oh,
like
oh,
that.
oh.
So let me ask you a question. You said you could have continuance. Could you literally say, we want a continuance on this issue? And we're not gonna come back to you for 2 years, or whatever the heck it would be. And when we come back, we're coming back actually to take this building, to reclassify this building as the accessory, so we can pull the building permit for the other
I don't
But
think,
how could we
no,
leave the barn though?
that wouldn't suit your purpose, because in the interim, you wouldn't be legally living there.
What
Because you
happens
wouldn't
if,
be-
no, but what happens if we said, this is the house?
Well, yeah, you mean go and get a permit, which is what I'm
We
saying.
modify this permit,
Correct.
and we modify this permit, and for all intents and purposes, at least for the time being, we have now waived our right to build any house, another house on that thing.
So
Well,
we're risking it.
until-
No, you're not.
Before that, Attorney Blake,
Until
is
you
there
got
any issue with, this whole thing with an accessory apartment is that you have a house and an accessory. An accessory one bedroom.
like the other one.
So if they want to live in this as the house, can then later come back and build a house and then call and swap it and say, that's the house, this is the
Right. In order
accessory.
to-
As long as it meets all the requirements
Yeah.
as an accessory.
That's what we just did.
Yeah.
I think they can.
You would be
I-
you'd be downgrading the
Right.
house to an
As
accessory.
long as you meet all the
Or-
requirements,
Yeah, you gotta
that this is an
940.
accessory.
Yeah.
But
Right.
wait, but like.
What you could do is when you decide to build a house, we're gonna say, oh, you can't build two houses. You already
Right.
have a house, so you can't
Right.
build two houses. So you have one of two things. That unit has to conform with the accessory
Right.
apartment regulations, which I think you're already doing.
Right?
Well,
Maybe.
let's
I'm
talk
not
about
sure.
that.
Well, assuming that applies to the accessory dwelling unit, I just wanna say, I'm gonna make that the accessory dwelling unit, and I'm building a house, you can get a permit. Or you can decommission that and make that back into, you can pull the kitchen
Pull
out.
the kitchen out.
And
no
then,
longer an
and then you don't
accessory.
have an
It's no longer anything.
then you no longer, once the kitchen is out, you don't have a house anymore. That's the kind of the
Well,
definition
we
of a
just
house.
revert
It
back
has-
to the way it was originally.
Exactly.
And then at any time in the future, you could then make it an accessory by putting the kitchen back in.
That
Yeah.
sounds
correct.
really-
By
Special permit.
becoming in
Back.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it meets the requirements.
No,
So
I
you
understand what
literally
you're
have
saying.
to take it out, like.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to, as long as if you
Well-
build it so it conforms, well, the problem is, you have to build it so it conforms with a regulation
Of a house.
of an
accessory.
accessory
Wait, the new
apartment.
house?
No, this
No,
accessory apartment, which may change, but I
Right.
don't think it's gonna get, I mean,
This one.
yeah, I don't think it's gonna get smaller. We're gonna always say it's 900 square feet, right? We're never
Yeah, the
gonna
only-
say
the
it's
only-
gonna be
This is like
850 square
800
feet.
and
Yeah,
67.
880.
So
You're
if
only-
it got stronger, if it
You're
got
only
smaller,
including
we'd
the
be
second
fine.
floor.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
only
got
including
two
the second
floors on
floor.
this.
No, but the bottom floor is not, that's
Heated.
the workshop,
That could never be included.
Well, okay, why?
because it's our workshop.
No.
Yeah, but what about?
You sell the property, somebody else comes in, I knock all those walls down and I put 4 bedrooms in.
Uh-huh.
It's heated down there, right?
Yeah, so this is fair, but let's talk about this. This is,
And that's the reason why I'm
not
looking at
only,
this saying-
well, not only is it heated, but this building is, the lower part of this building is this higher performance building is built in Westport. It's super insulated, the floor slab's insulated, it's thermally broken.
It is a
It has
living
got-
space.
hang on.
I requested that I could do my wood turning in a warm thing, and I worked in a woodwork, a furniture shop for a while, and they were heated, and so this was like my workshop. This
Yep.
is
No,
my
but-
time to turn. It's
So,
my-
no, but
See, what we have to be
no,
concerned
I
about
understand.
is not necessarily how you want to use it. When we approve a special permit, it goes with the property forever. So when you sell the property, somebody goes in there and says, man, I can put 5 bedrooms in
Well,
here.
could you put like a,
Yeah.
well, no, because the septic,
Because it's septic, but still.
Yeah.
it's-
the septic
So-
is only, whatever it is.
If someone wanted to do that, I can't prove they can't. All I can tell you is that if they did, they're nuts. Because
You got
they-
three big open bays.
we got 3 big open bays. These are custom-made doors that are all insulated, they can lock back in, they form seals associated with it. You get into the inside of the thing, that's the upper thing, it's a big loft. You get into the lower piece, all the windows are high, so that you can, they don't
So
conform to
you put
egress.
benches underneath it.
Yeah, so put benches underneath it. If you made these into bedrooms, somebody would have to go in and change the egress requirements for the doors. Somebody would have to dig up a 6-inch high
Yeah.
concrete slab to
Right.
put a bathroom downstairs
Right.
with slab on grade. But you're right, if they were willful enough and had enough money,
Yeah, okay.
they could do that.
Yeah, I mean, the
They'd
thing
be
we look at
crazy to do it. They should build an addition to the
Well,
building.
that's what, like, well, that's what I'm almost wondering, it's like, so, I think what Roger is saying is that you should get a building permit as that is your primary dwelling, and when you wanna build your dream house, you're gonna have to decommission that as a dwelling, because we're gonna have issues with the fact that it could actually be more than 1 bedroom. Perhaps.
I mean, again,
Perhaps,
this is just
and that's,
possibly.
it's possible, so the worst case scenario is when you go to build your house, well, no, actually, when you go to get the occupancy permit of the house, because you can still be living in that until you have the occupancy permit of your house, you'd have to decommission that, and the way we would decommission that is pulling out the
Yeah, I'm
kitchen.
not even really sure we'd have to do that, because as long as it meets all the requirements
meets the
as an
requirement.
accessory apartment.
Right, but you're concerned that.
I'm concerned,
Yeah,
but there are ways of,
Yeah.
but because I didn't know exactly what
fact
he
that
just
it's
showed
on a
us.
slab.
And what we have done, and what we will probably always continue to do is deed restrictions.
Right, and therefore
Saying
no one
which would
could
be
do
fine.
that.
That's what I was saying.
You can't have more than one bedroom, you can't have more than 2 people in this structure.
And we'd be absolutely fine with deed restrictions.
And now that you've described this, I mean, it would take a humongous effort.
It'd be easy, it'd be
to
cheaper to
try
build
and
another
even think
building.
about adding a bedroom.
Yeah, the lighting is as good as
Yeah.
this lighting is here. I mean,
Yeah.
The one thing we do not want to get caught in, because we would be better not to do any of this, is we can't get into a situation where somebody says in decommissioning the building, make it a really bad building so nobody could be thought to make it a house, right? Because if then you came back in and said, okay, I'll let you have the apartment here, but uninsulate the lower floor, uninsulate, you'd be a little bit like, oh, come on, we spent all this money to build a really good sustainable building. The last thing we want to do is make it less sustainable and rip out a bunch of perfectly good stuff just so it would make somebody hard to do an illegal thing later.
Right.
There's a point where it's a little bit like, really?
Right.
So the deed restrictions, all that stuff, we have no, other than some other folks, we didn't buy 11 acres of land in the middle of nowhere for the purposes of becoming a developer.
Westport is not in the middle of nowhere.
No, I grew up in Fall River, so I know, I say that more
But they have
fondly than
Dunkin'
not.
Donuts.
You know, so,
They have McDonald's.
yeah, so this is more, I
But
mean, I
you-
appreciate you taking so much time after all the time you've already spent on others, but it was more an issue of how do you maneuver through this thing? And look, if somebody comes back and says, you can't, that this is too complicated, build the house as fast as possible,
Yeah, but
and
that's
just
it.
occupy it the way you've got it, and don't even try, that's okay too. It's just, it would be convenient for us, it would be much, much easier over this 3-year period of time to be able to use this to live in during that interim, if that was possible.
Because a lot of, too, when Jim's designing, this is sort of like his thing to do in retirement, and to be able to be close to the contractor so that things
Sure.
don't happen without him not there, so he can
Sure.
make changes.
Yeah, especially if you're up in Boston, it's like,
Right.
yeah.
Well,
wanted
just
to
to
tell
tell
you-
you, the contractor we have down here is better than anybody I work with.
I'm just gonna now,
They're great.
and I should have done this in the beginning, but I'll read the letter that prompted this from Ralph Souza, who's
Yes.
also the building commissioner.
Yes.
It says, dear Mr. Collins, after review of the revised plans for the workshop structure, which is the plans you have in front of us, on your property at 795B Pine Hill Road, it has been determined that change in plans would create a detached accessory apartment, which is what you're here for, which is allowed by Article 953, detached accessory apartment. In order to achieve this, it will require a special permit issued by the Board of Appeals as per the Westport bylaws, Article 953. So that's the prompt of this. But again, I
See,
don't
he
see
did
why you couldn't live in this as an accessory apartment. Again, assuming that it meets all the regulations and, the A through J requirements as an accessory apartment, and then build a house and then
When
move
you
into the
say-
house. And
Roger.
again, as long as there's,
When you're saying accessory apartment,
No, this
right,
would be
in
the
that-
primary.
But
do you
and
mean?
right now
No,
you
I
live in
just want
this
to
as
ask you a
your
question.
house.
Yeah.
When you say accessory apartment, you talking about legally approved by us?
No, I guess right
Okay.
now, the only thing we can do is you can live in this.
As
As a
a
house.
primary residence.
Yep.
You got a bedroom, a bathroom, and a
But
kitchen.
is that gonna make it be that all of a sudden we can't build the
No.
house?
No.
No,
No.
because then you'll get a building permit, and before you get your occupancy permit to build, and to live in your dream house,
Turn that back into a murder.
you have to, either you come before us and and it meets the criteria of an accessory dwelling unit.
Right.
So you should read the rules, make sure it's the right amount of
Yeah.
square feet,
Right.
only one bedroom, and I think on paper it
Yeah.
looks like that. And then you would say, okay, before I get my occupancy permit for my dream house, I need to get this allowed as an accessory dwelling unit. So there's two ways.
Or decommission?
Or decommission it as an
Either way.
accessory dwelling unit, and you can do one of two, you can actually do two things. You can take the bedroom away, or you can take the kitchen away. You can have the kitchen.
That's assuming, right, that's
Right.
assuming that you needed to decommission.
Right,
But I-
but if you build it under our current restrictions of what an accessory apartment is one bedroom, 900 square feet, and that you assure us that the stuff downstairs could never be used but we have a deed restrictions that prevents that, right? Then there's no problem.
Okay.
You know, the worst case scenario is that in 3 years from now, we've decided that an accessory dwelling unit can be 1,000 square feet, but that's okay, because you still fall within it. But I don't think we're ever gonna, the risk of us ever saying that now we're gonna change our bylaws to say that an accessory dwelling apartment can only be 700 square
Right,
feet.
that's not
It's
happening.
not, we just changed it to make it
I
bigger.
have a more basic concern, and that is that if we were to go forward and to consider this as an accessory apartment right now, we are violating
Yes.
what we've been
Yeah.
told over and
Yeah.
over again, that you can't
has to
have
be
an
an
accessory
accessory.
apartment
Right.
without a principal
Right.
primary
So
thing.
we don't want
So-
you to do that.
No.
If you can't do that,
So
you shouldn't do it.
therefore, I'm still saying,
Yeah.
you go get a building permit to make this into a legal
A real
primary house, whatever size you want, but you want to keep it
Even
low.
if we already have a permanent house on there though?
You
Like-
don't have a
No,
permanent
no,
house
you're
there.
missing, hang on.
You don't have a permanent
There-
house
there-
yet.
There are multiple steps.
Yeah,
This has to be the permanent house,
Right.
until we try to build another house.
right.
Right.
When we try to build another house, we're gonna go in and we're gonna say, we wanna get rid of the house we have, so to speak.
Right.
And make it either an accessible, a detached accessory unit, and you either say yes or no to that.
That's
Or we turn around and we say, okay, if you say no to that, we'll take the kitchen out.
Right.
And it goes back to the way it was originally
Yeah,
approved. And there's
precisely.
nothing that says we can't have a separate building on the
That's right.
land that
Precisely.
isn't a residence.
Right.
Correct.
And you live in Westport, so you can do whatever you want anyway.
Yeah.
So the bigger thing, though, that we'll never get away from is I'll use the term, probably the wrong term, but the attractive nuisance of having built a building so good that the lower floor is habitable
Right.
in a high degree,
Right.
is always going to be out there whenever we come back.
Yes, right, right.
And so unless somebody buys the idea that nobody in their right mind would try to convert that thing to a bigger house, I mean, it's just
I
a,
mean, that is one
That's
of
what
the
the
things that
deed
we've
restriction-
always
But that's the deed
considered.
restriction
Yeah,
does.
we could do that. We
Right.
could do it.
what would the
One of the things we've always considered is, how much effort would it take a person to make this from a wet bed, other than the fact that a deed restriction, which
Yeah.
which solves a lot of the problem.
well,
Yeah.
that
But
would,
even then, we'd say, okay, but still, if somebody really wanted to just put up another wall, and make beds, you're a long way from that. I mean,
And-
we are a
you've
long
made
way
it-
from that.
You've
with-
made it
with-
really, really, really
It,
difficult.
it's very idiosyncratic for what
Yes.
it's built for.
Yeah.
But if somebody said, is it insulated, we'd say yes. If
I
somebody
mean, when we look at
said
it, say, yes, if you had an
Yes.
infinite amount of money, you could do anything.
yes.
So, which we look at and say, what would realistic,
Well, but you'd have to
No.
get more septic. You'd have to,
Yeah.
so.
Well, these
Yeah,
are all
exactly.
That
things
would
that-
get,
Well, but
and
Okay.
then you wouldn't.
You just saw the last
That
one.
extra-
Does that,
People
well,
do
we're
what
here
they
to
wanna do.
actually
Right, I
indulge
mean-
your guidance,
we're
and
here.
so.
Yeah, I know.
It sounds like
Yeah.
that would be the reasonable
So,
way to do
I
this.
think
Well-
Or almost like the only way.
the course of
Can I ask
action
a
is to
question?
build this as a livable unit,
Yeah.
limit it,
As
we
a
want to build
primary
another.
house,
Because we can't approve an accessory apartment without
a primary
other
house.
thing.
the other thing, because nothing ever says you're ever gonna build the other thing.
No, I understand.
You
that.
run out of money, you're gonna
Right.
live in this forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Got
Right.
it.
I hope
Okay.
something-
Well, I
So-
hope that's not the case,
But
but.
can I just, I
Yeah.
need, help my head.
She's worried.
No, I'm not worried. It sounds like everything's okay. I just want to understand the steps. So if we go, who do we go in front of? We go to the building permit and say we want to make this.
We go to the building inspector
barn
and
be
say
the
we
first
wanna,
house,
we
the
wanna
permanent- the
re,
permanent
we
house.
wanna pull the building permit to this be a permanent, the
To a
primary
house.
To a
site.
permanent house,
The
okay.
house.
And then if a month from now we want to start doing the building of the house,
You can do that,
but
right?
how do we do that and still live in?
You
can build whatever you want.
Don't worry about it until you get an occupancy
Occupancy
permit.
Permit.
So we can apply for a building
Yep.
permit
Mhm.
Yes.
because it's on the drawing of the original.
Yep.
Like,
Well,
even
Or any,
though
or new.
we can, how can we get a building permit for something when we already have a permanent house on it? How are they gonna let us have a building permit for another permanent house? That's what I don't get. Like, why are they gonna allow us to do
You
that?
can build it, but we're not gonna give you an occupancy permit, right?
Yeah, but it is convoluted.
Or
It really
if
is.
Ralph isn't willing to issue it, then you come in
And say,
for this special permit and ask, because then you will at least have
You'll have a plan.
Yeah.
We
So-
will begin
so
construction,
you
so
folks
it
might-
was accessory
Sort of.
to.
Sort of like the last one, they had a house, and then they said and it was built, and they had an occupancy permit, and they wanted to build an accessory, or didn't even have an occupancy, but I'm not sure what it was, but then they wanted to build it, and we said, sure, as long as it meets the requirement, and that, you live on one of them. So if for some reason Ralph says, no, you can't have another building permit, you already have a house on the property, you'd come in and say to us, for a special permit, I want to make this my accessory dwelling unit, and
To
it
this
fits.
building that I'm.
Well, and then we would have.
Okay, so if we had-
Yeah,
if we had
you'd know
come in
exactly what it
here
was,
with
you'd see everything.
an original building permit as the permanent house for the barn.
Yeah.
We had that already,
Mhm.
but he said he couldn't give it to us. We had already applied for it, and he said, oh, then we wanted to start building. Then that's when we would
Yeah.
talk to you. So we
Yeah.
only talk to you
When you
we-
want to build a new house.
we want to
When you
build.
have-
We're trying to get the building
When you
permit
have
for
two dwellings on that lot, or
Okay.
at least
Can we, can we always revert it back to the barn the way we have approval for already?
Right.
Like say we've got the permanent house of the barn, because we got him to approve it, and now we have it, and we're living in it. And then we go and we get a building permit, and they say no, and then we come here and you say no, can we always take the stove out and say, now you have to let us do it?
Right, because it's not.
There's no violation.
Like, because it goes
Because
right
it
back
is
to
it's
what
a
it was,
barn.
you originally.
Exactly.
It's a workshop.
So
No
the-
one's gonna question it then, saying,
No.
this isn't really a barn, like,
Yeah.
because we have the original
Yeah.
things that were approved.
We've actually done that previously where somebody had
Okay.
a structure, and we said, take the kitchen out, and it's no longer an accessory.
Okay, so, and no one can question that,
Right.
because
That's-
that's our
that's-
original thing.
Right.
Okay, that's
And
all, I'm
Yeah.
just like getting kind
And
of
our bylaw
stressed out.
No, I
specifically
mean-
says, in order to be,
No, I'd be worried too, because
Yep.
it's
you spend a lot of money
complicated.
to do this, but
Yeah.
I think you have avenues. And the first one is,
Yeah, the only
you've got-
avenue, obviously, we don't want to be is, I don't want to be in a situation where somebody comes in and says, the first building you built too well, it's
Yeah.
always an attractive
Yeah.
nuisance, we'll never let you do anything with that.
Yes.
Because then there's a situation of, it's like, okay, but if I built a really bad thing, it was impossible to convert, you'd feel good, but if
Yeah.
I built a really
Yeah,
super
but-
sustainable thing,
Yeah.
it's more likely for somebody
what
to
you're,
break
what
the
you're
law.
left with though is you
Yeah.
don't need this petition is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
withdrawn.
So when you, but
There's
the,
nothing we can go forward with.
your
with this
worst
petition.
case
Right, because
scenario
you can't,
is you have to
you can't
Yeah,
convert
right,
it back
exactly.
to your
grant well, this, I'm a little bit, it's okay. Maybe, this is what I thought, and I was a little bit surprised when, I'm not criticizing Ralph at all, because I think he was trying to help, was when he said, go this route. Because I was sort of like, well, how do I get an accessory
Yeah.
to something I
Now-
haven't done yet?
now,
Now,
what
maybe if
maybe-
we had the plans
Like
and
if you
everything
put it in
Now,
already.
the
if,
deed,
if you had,
like as an
if you were
accessory.
building this and you had the plans all already approved for the other,
Right,
And
you
you
might
would-
feel differently about that.
And
Yeah.
Then we could
septic.
assess, then we could make it an
We do have
accessory to
septic.
this. Like if you came to us and you said, how long is the building permit open for?
6 months.
Oh, it's only 6 months, but,
So you gotta start,
yeah.
then you can keep it open for.
Right, so let's say
Yeah, yeah.
you had a
2
whole
by 4 and
plan,
4
you
nails.
did your job, and you made the whole plan, and you put the yeah, it is,
She's pulling away.
yeah. And you put the foundation in and then stopped for 3 years. That would be okay.
yes.
But you don't
Okay.
have a plan, so
Right.
this is the best case scenario, is to make this your primary. And the
Okay.
worst thing that could ever happen is that you would have to revert back that to an artist studio.
By simply taking the
Yeah,
stove
which
out.
is okay too. I
Yeah,
mean,
which is what you wanted anyway.
Anyway, so that would be okay. The other way we could do this is just delay putting the kitchen in. You just delay. We,
Go in a tent.
we get, no, we get the
Get
architect.
a camper.
We get the architect to work better and faster. The architect designs the house and
But if,
we,
yeah, but
and we put
Yeah.
a permit in.
Well, you could
with-
put a trail
No,
around.
no, hang on. We design the house, we put a permit in for the house. Where we commit to a foundation plan, all those kinds of things. And then once we're all committed, and you know we're absolutely committed to do this, you know exactly what it is. Ralph knows exactly what it is. We've got the septic already approved, everything else like that. There's no risk to you folks that that we're kind of leading you in a place that we're not gonna go. Then the question would be, okay, can we move it, You still might not be able to do that though until
But
the building is
you
actually
said-
built.
But you said this thing is gonna take 2 to 3 years to build. Do you wanna be living in this without a refrigerator and a stove?
And technically, I don't think you'd be living in any,
For 2 to
anyway.
3
I don't
years?
think we're allowed.
That's
but
why
even
I
if it-
said tent.
No, but even if
That's why
you
I
had a
said tent.
stove, I don't think you can actually
Yeah.
sleep in a building that's not legally allowed to do.
Well, you just
Yeah.
make sure you don't put an oven in the new one until you're ready.
Every el-
You
and
do, we
everything
have to walk
else is,
1,000 feet.
yeah, everything else is offices.
Just
Keep
make
us
sure you
down.
get an oven and put wheels on it, so
Yeah,
you can
we'll
like.
move it around. We'll put it halfway between the two. All right, well, thanks, folks. I'm
But
sorry
my-
to take
But
so
my
much of your
concern,
time.
I don't think we're finished yet.
Okay.
Because my concern is that I don't want to just let this float out there, because to approve it, we are actually going against what we have legally been told all along. So I believe that we should deny this
Yeah.
application
Well,
right
again,
now.
I'm gonna tell
Can
the
he just
applicant the same
withdraw?
thing I told them, they have options.
Yeah.
They can continue, they can withdraw, or they can allow us vote on it. If we vote on it and we vote against it, it's too,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
you
so
heard the
what we,
whole.
I would have thought, I would think we would want to withdraw it
Without
without prejudice, so that we can come back whenever
Whenever you're ready.
it seems like the right time to come
Mhm.
back,
Mhm.
when we've got it somehow in a place that
Right.
that is approvable.
So as if we were never here.
And potentially never.
Yes.
We never saw it.
Yeah, you may not,
Yeah,
you may love the
Who knows?
space and you don't want a bigger house.
Problem
I mean,
is, all of
if you
Westport's
don't
watching
need an
us.
accessory
Oh,
apartment,
wait.
then
Yeah, then there's no reason to ever come back.
you may never come back. And if you do come back, then by then you'll have all the plans, you'll
Yeah,
have
yeah.
everything.
Okay,
Mhm.
no, that would make sense.
And we'll all be 3 years older.
Well, we may not be
We
here.
have to be
The
here.
only
That
thing,
makes me nervous.
well, the only thing we're for sure is that Barbara won't be
Barbara
here.
won't be here.
Today's her last meeting.
No,
I'm retiring from the ZBA. Tonight's my last.
Thank you for serving on.
All right, well, it sounds like we would like to withdraw without prejudice, and maybe you're charming people, we'd all like to see you again sometime when we know what we're doing. I
And we
guess.
all learn from these experiences.
Well, no, I appreciate that, I appreciate the, I mean, I understand the logic of the whole thing, so we're not concerned in that regard, and I understand that, yeah, it's a bit odd to have an accessory to something that doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
So,
I just
okay.
wish we could put it on
Well,
on a deed,
we have to
like
vote on it.
vote on
Oh,
it and put
fine.
it on the deed, right? Like just say, this is it,
Well, they're gonna make us do
put it
that.
on the deed.
Eventually, but not,
Eventually,
yeah.
yeah, but they will require that.
If you ever get to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
please.
And then there'll
I mean, if
be,
you don't need the accessory apartment, then you don't have to come back here.
Possible
And-
we'll
and-
die before then.
You mean after?
I'll try really hard to design this
Yeah.
thing sooner than later.
yeah, but the thing is that
Well,
the meeting minutes will be on record, that you'd always,
Right.
like, let's say if we were not here anymore, none of us, Barbara excluded, because we know she's not, but maybe
Well,
she
she
wants
may
to come
come
back. She may come back. There'll be a record of what we discussed tonight
Right.
to guide the
Okay.
the
Jerry will
existing.
be here. He's been here for 50 years.
Yeah, he's not,
He'll
yeah.
be here.
So,
There's only one way Jerry's leaving, is on a backboard.
so there is a nuance of a kitchen. That is a kitchen something that has an oven in it.
don't
Or is a
worry
kitchen
about it, just
something that
do
has
it.
all these
Yeah,
things?
and it's not,
As long as
it's,
there's not an oven in it, I can have a refrigerator.
right, but it's the bedroom, actually. So,
Oh, I see.
right, you've got a
Yeah.
bedroom, so like, and one other thing you could do when you build the dream house is you could either take the kitchen out, and then it is what it is, or you can just take the bedroom out, and taking a bedroom out is just making the door wider, right?
Well, I'm not putting a door on it at all. Right now, we don't have a door on it at all.
Right.
Yeah. Okay,
That's why,
that's a
Yeah.
nuance.
okay, so you are requesting to withdraw without prejudice.
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that you can withdraw without prejudice.
I'll
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no? Go verily and conquer. And
Good luck.
so let's see, 8 years from now.
It can't be that long. I'm getting too old, too fast, so.
Yeah, just put the
I-
hippie beads up instead of an actual door into the bedroom.
Exactly.
Chairman,
Just
Do
by
you
the
have to put a door on?
I would
One
like to
bedroom, you
say
have to put a
something.
door on?
Go ahead, Jared.
I don't have to put a door on anything.
Oh, you don't?
No.
I
It makes
would-
a bit of a bedroom and closet, right?
Yep.
I would like the record to show,
And a
And a door.
Wait,
door,
everybody,
right?
Jerry?
No, because I have something that goes in the door, but it's classified as a bedroom.
Cynthia?
I would like the record to show clearly that, at least my reason of allowing this is so that we do not set a precedent for approving an accessory when there is no primary.
Right.
And you stated that, so.
Okay.
Yes.
Just as an aside, I sat on the historic commission for like 7 years, a long time.
Wow.
And I just really appreciate you all doing
Yeah.
this. I can't imagine
You ought to be
how
on
hard
our,
it is, you
you
know?
ought to be on our historic
Well,
commission right now.
Well,
I don't
you
know if
guys
you-
have done amazing, you know, I understand this is a lot of work, so
Yeah.
appreciate it. Okay,
Okay,
thanks,
thank
folks.
you.
Good night.
Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next
She's
please.
married to me though, so she can't really fire the architect. I guess,
That's not true.
that could be true. Maybe I should give her any idea.
call it something different, but
Did call her something different. Oh my God.
Okay, next order of business, in meeting minutes for May 1st, 2024. Maria's put together the meeting minutes. I know everybody's reviewed and commented on them. I'll make a motion to approve the May 1st, 2024 meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. It's correct. Let me make sure I sign it, because I keep doing this and then I end up with it at home. Okey-dokey.
While you're doing that, quickly, Jeff, I'm going to email Ralph and explain to him.
He can call me if he wants to.
And I was going to CC you and have
Yeah,
him.
the last thing you want them to do is go into
I know,
the,
He's always afraid to
well, he's a little
contact
gun
the
shy.
town council about.
He's a little gun shy right now.
Thank you.
Did we have anything else on these meeting minutes? First of all, this is Barbara's last meeting, so, and I want to thank her, but, personally and as a board for 7 years of
Just about, I think, yeah.
Lucky 7.
of
I
effort.
remember when
I
she
mean, it's-
started, she said she's gonna try it for a little while.
It's right for a little while, right? Yes.
Yeah, thank
Yes.
you.
You've been a valuable asset to the board, and we thank you for for your commitment. So good
Thank
luck with
you.
your rowing and everything else, and
Thank you very much, and good luck to you all.
And we want you back.
Pleasure working with you.
Thank you
A
very
pleasure.
much.
I had here discussion regarding short-term rentals. I thought there was going to be some updates on that. Of course, you all know what happened at the town meeting. I have talked to Jim about this a couple of times, as far as sending out cease and desist letters and whatever, and that's that's still ongoing as far as what's going to happen. There hasn't really been a decision yet on how to go forward with that. Technically, everybody right now who is doing a short-term rental is doing it legally, and they're subject to a cease and desist. I don't know what the town is going to do about it, and that's up to the zoning enforcement officer and the administrator and the select board. So I was hoping to have a little bit more definitive answer on that, but that's like I said, it's still in progress.
At the selectmen's meeting, at one of the selectmen's meetings, they did talk about the possibility of a moratorium.
They did, and I talked to Jim Hartnett about that, and he said, no, they can't, that's
I don't think
that's
they
not
can
legal.
legally do
First of
that.
all, it's not legal from a attorney Blake, from a
Just-
couple of standpoints, a couple of them being, they don't have authority over zoning in the first place.
That's
Other issues is, the town is required to uniformly enforce our codes. If we do it for one and not for the other, then that could be prejudicial. And so we have to be worried about that. So, but again, that's not the select board does not have authority over zoning issues. So, and that's going to be a work in progress. There is some thought about continuation of committees for both the short-term rental and the Route 6 corridor for the next town meeting, which is a year from now, because the only way to get a zoning bylaw passed is at a town meeting.
They're talking about already having a special town meeting.
Yes,
Well, you know,
I don't think that's likely, but yes, I mean, that's the only way that it could be done, is a special town meeting.
I had a lot of feedback after that meeting, after town meeting. I mean, based on everything we've heard and you guys worked on for more than a year, it looked like it was gonna be a slam dunk.
Right.
Okay. But while we were there, I was close to getting up right after you, Roger. After the blonde woman spoke, I said, well, maybe we should just get up there and remind these people that everyone, that group was in front of every board, not just us.
Right.
And that they all just kept passing the buck. Well, we did something about it, but I think walking away with nothing, we should have at least accepted that amendment for 2.
Yes.
And at least, I was close to saying, hey, let's accept the amendment. Now we have nothing.
Yes.
Yeah. Or accept it at 7 or 5, whatever it
No,
was.
accept it at 2.
Whatever.
And well, that's what we had
But
discussed before. Because that was my concern. At least that was the chatter I was hearing in town, that 2 was going to be the magic number. But I said you could have also accepted the 5 or the 7, and then next year,
Well, at least say,
appeal it.
and then appeal. Say,
Right.
there hasn't been a problem.
Or say, hey,
and
let's
it's
try
working
this
great.
out.
Yes.
Let's try it
go
out
to
for
2.
2 years.
Right.
If Ralph's having all kinds of problems,
Yeah.
well, then we'll be in front of it to change
But
it.
that's not what happened, right?
No, and then I got comments of saying that, well, I went to the town clerk and I go, because everybody was cheering when they got wrote down. I said,
Right.
I go, dude, you can't write your place anymore. Yes, we can. I talked to the town clerk. I said, you really weren't paying attention here, were you?
They just did not want to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I talked to Jim Hartnett about was how town meetings are run. Because
Right.
what I
It's a
find
big
is,
deal.
especially things with zoning, the budget, here's the number, you like it, you don't, okay. But when it comes to the zoning issues or things where you make those kinds of long-term decisions,
It shouldn't be at the end of the
it
thing.
should.
If we would have gone
When
before
somebody
Route
gets-
6, it
when we
would have got
allow
passed.
people to get up
Right.
and discuss
Right.
things and provide erroneous information, the town, somebody in authority should be able to stand up and say, no, that's not the way this works. Should be able to rebut it, because all people are going to hear are things that are potentially all wrong.
And that's the only
they're
thing
gonna
you
believe it
remember.
Because there's nobody
Saying anything else.
rebutting it. So
The comment by the attorney saying,
Right.
well, you review this.
I would
Well,
like
that was
to,
off the
So
mark.
anyway, so that's.
I would like to ask a question about that,
Yeah.
because this is bugging me ever since the town meeting. And we have a town council sitting right here tonight. Am I correct? You're here as town council?
You're correct.
Okay. Well, okay,
I did not have that short-term bylaw sent over to me. So it was part of the warrant.
I sent you like a draft.
We looked, I did.
And it got pruned down from that.
Yeah, so there was some,
Yes,
but I never saw the final.
the final.
And-
It came out like right at the end. But it was a subset of what we sent you.
Yeah.
So if you had any problems with
Well, we actually said that you did do it. We actually
you
said it.
did, because I sent you the
I did
original.
look at some of it, early on.
Early on,
Actually,
sent
Roger
you,
and I
like
had
said,
many conversations on the
And you
phone.
commented on it, and we took your comments into
but
consideration.
your colleague
Threw him
led
under the
people to
bus.
believe that this thing went all through the process, and town council did not review it. Okay, now, we work with you all along the process, so to me, that's town council. But that really threw, and I think that swayed
And
the biggest part.
forget about us, because we're not talking about us, we're talking about a committee
Right.
that was approved at the planning board level, which the planning board
Had
sent
two.
it to legal.
Right?
Yeah, and said 2
So,
open meetings on it.
Planning board never sent it to me.
Well, that's what,
That's what I'm trying to say.
yeah,
to you.
and
Yeah.
didn't send it to your
Even if I think it
colleague.
was sent to you, your colleague probably wouldn't have gotten, he would have said the same
Well,
thing.
but it never, we never, the final.
The
I
final-
know that the final was sent as part of the warrant.
Yes.
So,
I do know that.
And the warrant is sent, right?
right, so
Yeah,
you should
and
have,
so I don't know, at the end of the day, it was already you know, the warrant was already posted, so there's not a lot you can do.
But that had a significant effect on that
Right.
vote.
But
And
technically-
that was the second time that night that he did that.
Yeah.
Second
Yeah,
time.
technically, wouldn't you say if you got received a town warrant, right, and you were gonna be at the town meeting, wouldn't you read the warrant before you got there?
Yeah, and I'm sure
Yeah.
he did. There's no.
I don't
No,
know.
he said he hadn't read it.
Cynthia, do
never
you know
read
the name of the,
No, I can't remember.
I can't, I didn't know the
Never read
name.
it, and in
Yeah.
fact, when
I'll find it.
He specifically said he didn't read the warrant.
The answer he gave was wrong.
Yeah.
But that swayed the vote.
I mean, I understand that can happen, because if you didn't read it ahead of time, you know, you sort of have to, you know, do a little research.
Yeah, it was
Well,
like he
I
was
don't think that
dancing.
But there's a difference between giving a wrong answer and just saying, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right, he was like dancing around it a little bit. And then he just came out and said, town council has not reviewed that. And that's all he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then Roger rebuked that, but
Right.
the
that
audience
point,
accepted
yeah.
the fact that, is Roger telling
Right.
the truth?
Right.
Yeah, they believe that.
No, no,
the
that's
town-
not what was said.
Of course you gotta believe the attorney,
Mindset.
because we're so
Anyway, we're
believable.
just, I mean, you know,
But
this
that's,
is just the particulars of town meetings. And
Yeah,
it's
well,
not just-
and I think our
But
town
I
meeting,
think we can, you know, and I talked to Joe about this, first of all, we need to do two things in town meetings. You can't have zoning things at the end of the meeting, because
Right.
zoning affects the town forever. All the other things in the warrant affect you next year. You really need the forever things sort of a little bit, you know, upfront, so, because they are long, because you're making a decision that affects you forever. And we really need
Move it up.
to attack that, you know, before everybody leaves.
right, and the money part has
And
been
like I
so
said
reviewed
before,
by the finance
You need to be able
committee
to
and,
have somebody in authority to repudiate, or at least when somebody says something that's wrong, you really need somebody in authority that can say, you know, you're misunderstanding this, that's not the way this
Yeah.
works. Because that's all that everybody hears are a whole bunch of people going up making comments and making statements that they believe is true, but in fact they're not. And that really throws everybody else off. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah.
you know, you really need to have, not a debate, but at least a checkpoint that says, no, this is, you know, you're getting wrong information.
You need a new moderator, Roger.
We need, well, I think
He's done.
he's done, right? Yeah. So,
but
okay,
I also
anyway,
think-
you know,
I also
that's-
think we should
we're
be-
just
we
venting
should
now,
go to a
you know, and
representative
it's a
town
big
meeting.
vent, but,
No.
is there any other business that?
A voted town meeting members. Yeah.
exactly,
Any
because
other,
we don't have a space to hold everybody.
any
We'll
other
talk after.
business that,
Okay, Ron,
You want to
Hit it.
pass the time?
Make a well, I was going to.
no,
That's
no,
it, you're.
you better do it.
Adjourn this meeting.
hey.
I second. All in favor? Now, you want to cut us off?